I'm 24 years old and I'm a elementary PE teacher. So I'm working with kids all day. I'm active, moving around. I'm really into sports. So I love to golf. I'm a baseball player. I still play. I coach a little bit. It's a competitive league for 18 and older. So there's some good college athletes of all levels, like D3, D2, D1. When I was on the infield, I would play third base or first base, so corner infield. And then outfield was either left or right. I think all my throwing and just constant shoulder use, because I work out a lot, it caught up to me. And then I noticed it just wouldn't really ever not be sore. And then eventually there was just a game where I had to throw 3 balls max effort. And after that game, I could tell something was wrong. So I decided it was time to get it checked out. I decided to come to Castle Orthopaedics because I had a previous back injury, and I came to Castle Orthopaedics for that back injury, and I just really liked the way they cared for me.
He came in with some chronic shoulder pain, which really bothered him with his throwing activity. A lot of overhead athletes have, whether they play baseball or tennis or volleyball. Reviewing his injury history, we went through a pretty thorough physical exam or assessment of his shoulder and throwing mechanics, and came up with our differential diagnosis or potential cause for his complaints. And one thing that really struck out to me was he probably tore his labrum.
I was throwing incorrectly for the most part. I was throwing down with my elbow down. So really talking to coaches and the physical therapists, they said, make sure my elbow is up, and that will take a lot off the shoulder.
So we discussed his non-surgical options of treatment, which would include a course of physical therapy. However, for Jacob, I pushed him more towards surgery just because of his higher level of activity. This affected his dominant shoulder, which he uses for throwing, and he wanted to continue playing baseball at a higher level.
I consulted with Dr. Saleem, and he was great, just told me everything he knew about it.
I examined him and determined that he actually had a problem that probably started all the way back in high school and then had just progressed over the years. Jacob eventually went for surgery after we had the discussions of the pros and cons. And we ended up repairing the labrum in his shoulder, which is a structure deep inside the shoulder. It provides really sort of a bumper to the shoulder socket. And at the top of the shoulder and at the top of the labrum inserts the biceps tendon. We released the tight portion of his shoulder. So that combination of the procedure, we were able to restore function in his shoulder.
The Return to Activities program, I think, was really beneficial for me because I was in a sling for a while, so all the muscles in my shoulder area and arm, they are gonna get weak, and it was just a surgery, so those need to be built up again.
We guide him and educate him, and that's really the key with another aspect of therapy is we want to educate that person and make him independent as possible. The nice thing about Jacob is he came from surgery, went to rehab, and then he wanted to progress into a sports performance type of activity. And once we pain manage the patient, we start to restore normal motion and return what we can within the protocol to get them back to full range of motion.
My personal trainer really got to know me, he got to know my abilities, and then he kind of designed a program for me to really benefit the most. And I feel like I've had a lot of success from the program.
Return to Activities program is a joint effort between Castle Orthopaedics and Rush Copley Healthplex. And so if you have anyone from an athlete to an occupational person or a hobbyist that somehow injured themselves, they'll go through physical therapy. Once they graduate from physical therapy, they come to work out with a personal trainer to then further work on the strength, mobility, flexibility. So we'll meet, get to know you, get to see your strength, flexibility, endurance. Once we get an idea of that, then we try to meet twice a week for a half hour. So we did a lot of strength on the rear delts, lateral movement, overhead movements, and basic overall strength, because we didn't want to just focus on his shoulder, considering that he is young, he can do a lot more than most people. So while working on his shoulder and elbow, like the doctors at Castle did, we focused on him being an athlete. So a lot of deadlifting and performance lifts and lots of box jumps and things that he can then apply to going back to the world as a baseball player.
I'm really happy with where I am. I feel stronger, I feel more mobile in my shoulder, and I've seen improvement with even my range of motion.